Hey, good morning. I want to wish you all a very happy holiday season. You know, right now we're in the Advent season. So this is a time of preparation. We're preparing for the Christ child, right? But just consider that maybe you're preparing your hearts to receive the gift also. So I was talking to some people just in line or talking to friends on the phone or meeting strangers or talking to clients. And, you know, a lot of people are really busy right now. And there's a lot of anxiety that comes with this time of year, right? Christmas is one of those times that, you know, we see it everywhere we go. You get in the elevator, there's music being played, usually Christmas music right now. You go to the stores and Christmas stuff is everywhere, and commercials and Hallmark movies, and every single place you go, everywhere there's the Christmas pressure. You've got Christmas parties, and you know, when you're going to get together, this hurry up and get your cards done, and you know, just all these crazy things. Well, so I was thinking about those things and reflecting on a lot of things that the people that shared things with me were telling me, and there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress that comes with this season. You know, if you're single, you've got Christmas parties. Well, do you go by yourself? Do you try to bring a friend along? You know, do you find a quick date? I mean, what do you do? You know, maybe you don't have a Christmas party to go to because you don't have your partner anymore. And so there's a little bit of grief from that because you don't have those parties and you would really like to go to those parties. You know, there's people right now that are, you know, grieving like myself. I mean, this will be the 6th year that I've been alone since I lost my husband. And it's really, really hard to believe. It's been 6 years. Some people I've talked to are going through a breakup. Some people are going through a separation or a divorce. Some people are considering that. Some people are struggling with their spouse or their girlfriend or boyfriend. And, you know, they're just feeling like they're kind of meeting and nothing's going right. You know, let's take a relationship step a little further, and you know, it can also be a friend. It could also be your children. In relationships, let's face it, they're sticky things, right? Matters of the heart are always difficult. Whether you have one, whether you're losing one, whether you've lost one, whether you want one, they can be difficult, okay? So I was trying to think, you know, last year I did a video series, and I wanted to figure out one that I could kind of do to, you know, encourage you all and even give you a pause of reflection. And I was really drawn to a poem that was very dear to me. I think it was written in the 1990s. It was written by a lady named Veronica Schafstall. And it's called After a While, or there's another name for it called Comes the Dawn. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd like to break it up into maybe 3 or 4 segments and just kind of dig a little deeper into those things that are said in the poem, and maybe even share with you some of the things that I've reflected on. And when I was reflecting on these things, and I'll share with you what I came to realize for myself. And maybe there'll be something that'll strike a chord with you. Maybe it'll be something completely different. And that's okay, because isn't it great that we're all a little different? So I thought what I'd do first is I'm going to read the poem. And then I want to take maybe the first 3 lines and work through that today. And then the next time I post, we'll go into the next part of the poem, okay? So I'm going to read it to you, so I need my cheaters. So the poem starts, again, it's by Veronica Schafstall. After a While is the title. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. You learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and company doesn't mean security. And you begin to learn that kisses aren't contracts and presents aren't promises. And you begin to accept your defeat with your head up and your eyes forward, with the grace of a woman and not the grief of a child. And you learn to build all your roads on today, because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans, and futures have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, you learn that even sunshine burns if you get too much. So you plant your own gardens and you decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. And you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, and that you really do have worth. And you learn and you learn. With every goodbye, you learn. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so let's take a look at that, right? Let's break it apart. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. So what does that mean? You learn the subtle difference. Well, okay, think about that. It's a distinction. You realize the distinction between holding a hand and chaining a soul. So when I was thinking about that, I thought, okay, when I hold a hand, right, I'm holding someone's hand and we're going to walk together, okay? If I'm chaining a soul, that means that I'm dragging something along, right? So then I started thinking about my, days of old when my children were young, or when in my relationship. And I was so fortunate that my husband and I, we held hands. I mean, we walked along together. We didn't need to pull each other along. Not that I've never done that, but what I do know is when you try to chain a soul, when you try to pull somebody along and they don't want to be there, they don't want to be brought along, most certainly the chances of it ending in failure are very good. See, because you can't hope that they'll be in the same place you are when they're behind you and you're trying to pull them along. But if you're beside them, there's a better chance for discussion, and there's a better chance for openness and just love to actually go between each other, not trying to catch up, okay? So then I went through, okay, you learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and company doesn't always mean security. Okay. Love doesn't mean leaning. Company doesn't always mean security. So I think about people who are so reliant on another person. If you think about each of you, when you're walking along, you're each bringing something along in a relationship, right? You're bringing your children along. You're walking alongside of them. I'm not saying don't parent your children. I'm saying, sometimes you have to love them where they are too, and then guide them. But if you're trying to pull them into doing something, they might be resentful. They're going to rebel, right? If you're trying to do that to your spouse, they're going to rebel. But if you lean on a person so heavily that all your reliance is on them, that could also set you up for a big heartbreak. So the question is, where does your happiness come from? It doesn't mean that we have to work independently and, you do your thing and I'll do my thing and we're not ever going to come together. No, it means that we're going to be a partnership, We're going to be together, and we're going to come together and bring our strengths together. If I'm so dependent on another person, right, I'm leaning on them, well, they're carrying all that burden on their shoulders. That's putting a huge amount of pressure on them, right? And then when something fails, you turn around and you point your finger at them. Well, wait a minute, Missy. You just turned around and you had 3 fingers pointing back at you because you didn't do anything but just leave it all up to them. You didn't help them out in any way. You didn't encourage them in any way. You said it was all on them. I'm going to place all my hopes in what they're doing. We can put our hope and rely on God. But when we start relying hard on human beings, it's going to lead to hurt because we don't always make right choices. And sometimes things don't go the way we have them planned out in our mind, right? So then it talks about we begin to learn that kisses aren't contracts and presents aren't always promises. So I thought, okay, what does that mean now to me? Because it meant something different when I was 30, right? So now in my 50s, I'm going, okay, what that means to me is, see, the physical isn't always going to be there. Kisses are wonderful, and that physical attraction, the physical desires that we have, those things are wonderful. But sometimes they're not always going to be there, right? Same thing with material things, right? If we look at our happiness by our new china, or that new house that we got, or that new couch, or, well, I need a new car because, it's a year old, or whatever it may be. If we're relying on that to be that contract, or that's going to keep me happy, the car's going to wear out. Your dishes are going to chip, and you're going to get older. We can't always look at the physical things. So think about each time and where you're at in your relationships. Each time that you've had an instance come up where maybe there was a disagreement, or maybe there was a little anxiety or something. Were you putting all your hope or your reliance in that one person, and were you not coming alongside them? We have to look at what we're doing also, not just what that person was doing. How are you looking at things? How do you view your friends? Is it a two-way street with your friends? Is it a two-way street with your husband? Are you walking alongside of him? Are you taking a minute to talk to your kids? And talking to them and, having that relationship. Not parenting them. Parenting is important. But having that time to really hear what maybe they are struggling with. And letting them know that they're important. Not trying to pull them up to where you think they need to be. But the desire that they should want to come alongside of you. That's what it's about. Okay, we're going to tackle the rest of this in 2 more times maybe. So I look forward to talking to you again. Have a wonderful day. Bye.